Welcome, Reds. The 100% United pod is getting closer now. The boys are back on the field at Old Trafford in less than a fortnight until the Spurs game. On today's episode, we look at the influence the new Premier League rules may have on Manchester United. We assess United's options ahead of that return on June the 19th. And as always, go through the latest transfer rumours and news coming out of Old Trafford. First, though, the boys were out on Old Trafford, an empty Old Trafford, yesterday with mixed leaks as to the scorers. The one thing that we can pretty much be sure of is that it was a 4-4 draw between the red team and the gold team. Players were pictured entering Old Trafford in their cars, wearing their kits, as is the rules at the moment. You have to turn up in your kit. So we've got a fair idea as to who was on whose team. You know, you had the Reds, you had your Rashfords, your Pogbas, your Fosu Mensahs, your Greenwoods, Matic. On the gold team, you've got Bruno, Martial, McTominay, Mata, Luke Shaw, and a number of others on each team as well. Romero keeping nets and De Gea at the other end too. There's been mixed leaks, as I say, as to what the scorers were. Now, the original leak was it was 4-4. Marcus Rashford scored a hat-trick for the Reds. Pogba with a goal and 2 assists. Fosu Mensah and Matic with an assist each 2. The gold team, Bruno 2 goals, 2 assists. Martial a goal and assist. McTominay a goal and Mata an assist. Now, if that was the case, it'd be a pretty bloody good spread. Look, we've got most of our star players shining. Of course, it sticks out that Pogba and Bruno started on opposite sides. Everyone's been debating whether we can make it work and make them play together in a functional team. Ollie's gone for them on opposite sides on this particular game. Look, it didn't look like there was a first team and a second team out there. It was a good spread. Harry Maguire played for the red team. But it did look like it was a divided team. Danny James for the golds. So I don't think you can take too much out of it. It looked like it was just getting people used to playing in an empty Old Trafford. Of course, we had the experience in Lask just before the break, that 5-0 victory. Little did we know it would be our last football for about 3 months. But it looked like possibly Ollie is just keeping Pogba and Bruno are both hungry, and he will probably look to get them both in the team. Mason Greenwood wore the number 7 shirt, was pretty nice to see, and David De Gea was wearing an outrageous beard and 90s style goalkeeping leggings. Dimitri Karim would have been proud of them, I'm sure, the old Chelsea keeper. But since then, there has been another rumour. Luke Shaw was messaging one of his fan pages and said that it was a 4-4 draw and he grabbed 2 goals. I don't know if that's Luke Shaw being a bit cheeky, or if he did get 2 goals, then I've said for quite a while that if you're an attacking fullback, you need to be assisting, scoring much more often than Luke Shaw does. So hopefully, if that was the case, then that would be a plus side too. But I don't know if the highlights are going to be released by Manchester United. But as it stands, we've just had pictures from the game and pictures of the players coming in and a pretty solid rumour that it was a 4-4 draw. So look, it's great. Another great step towards the resumption of the Premier League, and we've obviously got that Spurs game in just under 2 weeks on that Friday night. It will be on telly, and it'll be great to see the lads in action against Jose Mourinho's Spurs, of course. Apparently, there is a possibility that we will have a friendly match with West Bromwich Albion in between now and then. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but that was another rumour I heard on the round. So looks like we might be able to try and get one more in, and that might be the occasion where Ollie tries to see what his best 11 is going in to this sort of mini season, if you like, of 9 games. It's going to be a hard one. We've had a great run of form leading up to the break, and then of course we've had the break, and then we've got players back, your Rashfords, your Pogbas, who, you know, you'd have to say are star men. So do you try and get them straight back in? Does match fitness count anymore? Well, after 3 months, no one's match fit, are they? So is it treated like a pre-season and whoever is shining in training goes in? Or do you bear that in mind that Pogba and Rashford haven't played football? Pogba, I believe, since Boxing Day and Rashford since January. So quite a big layoff for them, but it's been a big layoff for everyone. So we will see. I know Bruno Fernandes has been sort of saying that he knows that people in the Premier League are going to know more about his game now. He's going to have to know more about their game. So he's wise to that. He apparently has come back a lot faster and sharper than he was before. So we will see how this break affects us as a club. The one big thing coming out of this week is that those new rules I was discussing on the podcast in the week have unbelievably come to fruition. I didn't think it would be the case. I said that I wouldn't personally be wanting to sign off on these rules. But now, which is confirmed, there's going to be 5 subs permitted per game and 9 players allowed on the bench. Now, of course, that was something Chelsea pushed. So you've got 5 subs to be brought on in 3 portions. and then you've got 9 people on the bench. Now, Ollie's sub use has been criticised in the past. People say that he waits too long to bring players on. You can look at this in 2 ways, can't you? Nine players on the bench for a club like United, who prides itself on its academy and bringing youth players through. That's got to be a bonus. 2 extra players that we can pop on the bench. It means the Angel Gomez contract issue we've discussed for a number of months now. It means that he can be placed on the bench. So that's obviously a plus point there. In terms of the 5 subs, one plus point you'd say is that it keeps the players on the pitch hungry. When you know there's 5 subs to be used, you know there's still a chance you might get hooked. So it keeps that standard of performance up nice and high. Be a boost to people like Mason Greenwood as well, that 5 sub rule, being able to come on. And with a full squad now coming back into the season, you've got Pogba, you've got Bruno added to the mix already. It'll mean that you don't have to leave people who have been performing and who've been providing the team out of the squad totally. And it means you can put a different variety, of course, on the bench of options, which, again, has got to be a plus point. But Ollie's got to use them. Ollie's got to use them and use them well, because in the past, as I say, we haven't used them in a way, and it looks like the game sort of slipped away before Ollie pulls the trigger on his sub. So I don't know, maybe it have a positive effect on Ollie. And it would be interesting to keep an eye on this as to whether in the future this kind of rule carries on, because once the cat's out of the bag, it's pretty hard to put it back in. So I don't like the sound of it personally. I don't like the look halfway through the season of changing the rules. I think personally that's bonkers, but that's what we've got to live with. So yeah, 5 subs, 9 on the bench as the new rules, and that'll be in effect for the Spurs game, as I say, on June the 19th. Another funny thing that came in, and I did mention this before, is that the FIFA sound, it will be on the red button. So it's an option if you want to have the video game, for people who don't know, FIFA 2020, video game sound on the red button. Another sort of sponsor plug, if you like. One thing that wasn't permitted, managers and the powers that be didn't sign off on being able to be mic'd up. The broadcasters wanted access to the dressing rooms and to possibly get interviews before the match, halftime, sort of American style. In basketball, American football, you see the coaches, even the players, doing interviews in breaks, but that's not something that they're willing to go ahead with. But there's certain sort of things that the Premier League have allowed the broadcasters, so that they will get a little bit more a bang for their buck, and apparently they're going to allow the clubs to pay back that rebate over a period of time rather than demanding it straight away as well. So that's good news. But look, it's going to be interesting lineup wise. Of course, going into the break, we were flying Bruno as sort of an attacking midfielder with 2 behind him, and now we've got Pogba back in there. It's interesting how that dynamic is going to go. Look, you might go Pogba and Bruno, and then one sitting, one of Matic, McTominay or Fred, you would think, behind them. But then Bruno and Pogba are going to have to do their fair share of work. I know Bruno likes to put it in. Pogba can when he wants to. And you wonder, maybe as a partnership, they might be able to find a way to both put in enough effort to cover a holder. But you would have thought, if it's going to be Pogba and Bruno, you'd really need a kind of Matic back there, wouldn't you? Someone who is that type of defensive player rather than a McTominay or a Fred, who are a bit more of an all-rounder. The other thing that I was thinking might be the case is a diamond in midfield. You could have a Matic or a Fred holding the midfield. You can have a McTominay on the right of the diamond, or a Fred as well. Pogba on the left of a diamond, and then Bruno at the tip of the diamond, or a little variation of that. It might work. Pogba loves to operate off the left. Bruno does too, but of course he has winged in a few crosses from the right too. So that's an interesting one. It's a possibility, a 4-4-2 diamond. It allows, of course, Ollie to go with a sort of Rashford and Martial up front together. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Of course, Ollie has at times gone for 3 at the back as well. That's another possibility. See what we can get, but it gives us options, and of course we've got the subs to fall back on now if it doesn't work straight away. But we do need really it to work straight away, don't we? We've got Spurs straight up, and then we've got Sheffield United in the midweek straight after, and we've got to hit the ground running here. We've got to get straight back into it and get those 6 points on the board, because if we don't, if we take a little bit of time to get going, we're already going to be losing all that momentum we had already. Of course, Sheffield United have got a game in hand, and Chelsea are looking to cement the Champions League spot as well. So We will see that. Of course, there might be a chance with the City Court of Arbitration for Sport case, which will start tomorrow on Monday. So another one to watch out for. Of course, Igalo has extended his contract, so he's another option we've got going on there. Apparently, Brandon Williams now is going to be offered a new contract. He's only on £4,000 per week, I hear. He has impressed enough to be offered a new contract, and you look at that and you think with Gomez asking for 30, and Williams has been on 4K for quite a while. He even bought his dad that lovely car, didn't he? So even on that contract, so much deserved from Brandon Williams. But if Luke Shaw's on fire like he says he is, then who knows if he'll get in the team. But yeah, great news, because he has been one of the standouts, sort of breakout standouts of the season. He's really shone, and got high hopes for him too. Of course, with us still waiting for the Premier League to start up again, all eyes have still been on the Bundesliga. Jadon Sancho was fined €8,000 by the DFL, German Football Association, for getting a haircut. He described it as an absolute joke, which has got to be good news for us. As many problems he has over there, the better, because, of course, he seems like our top transfer target. He did have a haircut at his home, was pictured not wearing a mask and whatnot, but he just did proceed to bang in a hat-trick the game after. So I always used to think with Ruud van Nistelrooy, when he didn't shave, he was going for a bad patch. When he shaved, he was always banging them in, but that was just a silly thing I used to always say to the lads. Timo Werner looking like he's going to Chelsea now. They've triggered the release clause by all intents and purposes. There's only it runs out on the 14th, as I've been saying for weeks. So it looks like he's going to Chelsea. Apparently, the reason why Liverpool didn't get him is because of financial reasons. Apparently, that's what Klopp called Werner and said. There's been contrasting rumours, though, that Liverpool are now going to try and hijack the Sancho deal. But if finances are the reason that they couldn't get Timo Werner, then there's absolutely no chance they'll be getting Sancho if that's the case. But we don't know. Bad news, of course, for people who were coveting Werner, who's been banging him in. Good news for Chelsea. They've already got Ziyech in, now Werner, and they're apparently looking to pull the trigger on Ben Chilwell as well from Leicester. If they got those three, you'd have to say it was a good summer from Lampard. They'll be making some good moves, but that Champions League spot is crucial, isn't it? And that's what we're in for in this 9-game league that we're set to start very, very soon now. It will be absolutely crucial as to each club's destiny. As I mentioned, Sancho has been mooted as our number one transfer target. However, recently, a number of different outlets have been saying that Jack Grealish is now back as our number one target. I don't know if this is a way to try and put some pressure on Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund apparently are not looking to budge on the fee of 100 million. We want them to budge, of course, and Grealish would come a little bit cheaper, not massively cheaper. Depends, of course, if Villa went down, that price may be negotiated. But apparently he's the number one target. We've done our due diligence, and we're still happy to go ahead with it, despite his breach of lockdown and other rumours that were going around Jack Grealish. So we'll see. Look, it looks like we are now being linked again to this sort of attacking midfielder, Kai Havertz of Leverkusen. He's been captaining them. He's been banging them in as well. He's a really tidy player, strong as well. Looks like he would adapt well to the Premier League. Has a nice bit of grace about him, but he's also strong. Gets some aerial goals too. But there's a host of top clubs in for him. There's pretty much your who's who of European football are after Kai Havertz, only 20 years old. And now, just recently, the Telegraph over in Holland have said that we're in for Donny van der Beek as well. So Real Madrid apparently stalling on that deal, and they've looked to United because they know we have some cash, and we've triggered that overdraft as well. And that's another possibility now coming onto the radar. Now, I don't know if these new rumours are, as I say, aimed to put pressure on Dortmund and try and get that Sancho fee down a little bit and still go for our top target. Because if you look at our squad, you look at the dynamics of it, if we're going to keep Paul Pogba, that's an if, then you'd say that right wing spot is the one to go for, right? If we've got Jadon Sancho, and Jadon Sancho is a tricky winger, a creative, tricky winger, and then we've got Dan James, who's just out-and-out speed merchant, it'd be a lovely balance, it really would. And again, Sancho can play on the left as well as the right, but you'd have Rashford out on there on the left. You'd have Martial and now Igalo backing him up down the middle, and then you'd have Sancho and Danny James on the right. it would be a lovely stable of attacking options with Pogba and Bruno Fernandes just behind. And if we kept Angel Gomez, then maybe he'll get a few minutes as well. So I don't know whether these rumours are just to put some pressure on to just see if we can't get a better deal before putting our money on the table with that one. Another rumour that was coming out of South America, Thiago Almada, a young Argentinian sensation from Vélez Sarsfield. Apparently United have been negotiating for him. He's got a £20 million release clause. He has been described as the new Messi, but how many players have been described as the new Messi since the real Messi came along? He's a slight Argentinian, again 20 years old, £20 million release clause. It's pretty cheap in this market. I would have thought we'll go for a player of different stature, realistically, than Thiago Almada. Might be wrong, but that's the rumour coming, that we have been negotiating. Bit of a different one in terms of transfers. One that we probably wanted to go the other way is Alexis Sanchez. He is, of course, at Inter Milan on loan this season. They are looking to extend his loan deal now until the end of the Serie A season. So good news for us. If he was left on the table there until the end of this season, in inverted commas, then we wouldn't have much of a saleable asset to try and even loan out next season. But if he can play the rest of this Serie A season, powers that be at Inter, straight from the horse's mouth actually, so it was from inside the club, said that, look, we're going to give Sanchez, we're going to give everyone in the squad a chance, including Sanchez. They said that, they were happy with some of his performances. They thought his level was rising before he got injured, and they want to see if he can reach those heights at the San Siro and possibly stay there for next season as well. Now, it'd be good news all round, really. It hasn't worked for Sanchez at United. We're still paying him to play for Inter Milan, but if he came back to United, we'd have to pay him the full whack, and we wouldn't have much use for him because, as I say, it's he really hasn't shown that level, not even half the level that we expect. So hopefully he does well, and it gives us a nice position in terms of negotiating possibly another loan deal, as it would look like, because I just can't see Inter Milan putting down a lump sum on him when they know they've got us by the ghoulies, if you like. They know that we can't get rid of him anywhere else, so they would be in a nice position there, really. Look, as I said, the City CAS case is slated in for Monday. Possible August verdict, as I said, in a week, which would be a bit of a nightmare. But the City fans have been making mugs of themselves again. They've had a massive banner, calling UEFA the Muppet Show and aiming various barbs at UEFA, which they've been doing for years, haven't they? Booing the anthem and whatnot. No wonder they don't do very well in the Champions League. But yeah, hopefully they will get the book thrown at them by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, as well as UEFA, and that gets upheld, because it would mean that fifth place, of course, comes into play, and that may well benefit United very, very strongly. Another rival has been making a bit of a mug of himself is John Barnes. It's just when you thought he couldn't be more of a plonker. He recently popped out a tweet quoting Donald Trump's mum. The old dog forgot to crop his image, didn't he? And left his last few images there, and there was a rather filthy image there on Barnes's history. So he apologised and and said he didn't know how to work his phone, but it doesn't seem like he totally doesn't know how to work his phone if he's getting that filth up there. So good that John Barnes is still giving us a laugh all these years later. Yeah, the Scousers always giving us something to laugh about, aren't they? Anyway, thanks everybody for joining me again today. Get subscribed to the pod if you haven't already, and keep those great views coming too. Follow us at United 100 Podcast on Instagram for all the latest from the 100% United team. Apologies for the little bit of a shorter show today, but in midweek we'll have a longer one with Scott alongside me as well. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheerio, Reds.